And welcome back to Headliners with me, Simon Evans, and Leo Kearse and Nick Dixon. So we go to Thursday's Telegraph to kick off this section with Suella Braverman being complimented on her classical rhetorical style.
Who wrote that? Suella Braverman's migrant speech, like rivers of blood, says senior Met officer. This is Neil Basu, who is worried about her choice of language. People have been very obsessed with the language over this and the language of invasion and so on.
Policing her language.
Yeah. So, and I think probably the actual thing happening is more important. But let's address this. So, Firstly, I mean, Enoch Powell. Well, Enoch Powell, he was a bit of a moderate lib when it came to the numbers. In hindsight, he sort of actually underestimated immigration. But whatever you say about Enoch Powell, everyone from Thatcher to Tony Benn to Tony Blair has said this guy was a genius in terms of IQ, spoke multiple languages. I don't think anyone's really comparing Suella Braverman to him on that level.
And she's not as good.
She's not as smart as Enoch Powell. I think everyone would admit that.
Probably not as good a Houseman scholar, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. But the difference is, now he does talk about, well, he's saying that in the past his parents experienced attacks based on race because of things Enoch Powell has said, and that's a genuine question. Do things like that inflame tensions? And of course, obviously they do in some cases. You could cite the extremes, obviously Hitler. You could even cite modern things like Maxine Waters saying push back on Trump supporters, or the BLM riots being encouraged by the media. Certainly you can make the argument that inflammatory rhetoric can lead to violence. I could certainly accept that. But when you're comparing it to the current situation with Braverman, the key difference is she's tackling an illegal migrant problem that just about everyone has a problem with and says we need to tackle. It's not in any way near as incendiary. So I think it's a bit silly.
Well, the one thing that she said, which I do, and my views are roughly in line with yours, but she did say this quite bizarre thing that she dreamed of sending those crossing the channel illegally to Rwanda. Not that she thought it was an unfortunate but necessary deterrent or anything, but that she seemed to have some sort of a degree of glee in it, which I think was it
was odd language, but that again was where the IQ comes in, but also where this does the language matter that much? He's called it an invasion. Is that important? But this guy, let's just to finish on my bit, he does admit also to being woke. He says if he'll happily be called woke. So we can see that this guy, we know it's sort of side he's on, but I think it's a bit much comparing Braverman to Powell.
Yes. Well, and also the language is important because she's making these great rhetorical gestures. I want to send them to Rwanda and all this kind of stuff, but she's not doing it, and the Tories aren't doing it. And they've been in power for 12 years, give or take, and they're not going to do it. What they do is they talk tough, like every government. Even Keir Starmer right now is saying, he's going to crack down on illegal immigration, and he's going to, and also limit legal migration so it doesn't impact, house prices, services, and wages and things like that. But he won't do it, and the Tories aren't doing it. The elites that run the country, they want mass immigration because it pushes house prices up. They own property. It provides cheap labour for their businesses. So
it's throwing kindling on the fire, isn't it? Essentially, it's not. Yeah. It's not building it up with solid wood. It just keeps the flames burning a little bit brighter in the short term.
Yeah.
It does seem that there's been a total failure by year for about over 20 years now.
Yeah.
The issue.
But Suella will come out and say these incredible things, but which inflame some people and reassure others, but really nothing is being done.
No. And I tend to agree with you that I think he's quite pleased to be regarded as woke, but he uses that term as it was sort of 6 years ago. It has been sort of, I suppose, watered down or distorted in its terms now.
Well, he says it's alert to issues of racial and social injustice, but that's not what woke
That's not what people think it means now, is it?
Sort of exploiting victimhood or exploiting these lever issues for your own social or financial gain.
And indeed, from a police perspective, it's about rebranding cars with rainbows and so on. All that kind of stuff. Anyway, he should be aware of that.